A Colorado meat packing factory has decided to fire 150 Muslim workers after they protested about the way the company handles prayers. Now, as you know, Muslims have to Muslims have to pray 5 times a day. So this particular company is located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, that recently had a huge number of Somali Muslims immigrate into the area, right? So this company ended up hiring lots of Muslim employees. Now, since they have to pray 5 times a day, well, it kind of shuts down production for the factory, and it's a little difficult for them to meet their quotas or meet their goals for each specific day. They're trying to produce 4 million pounds of beef daily, which makes me realize that maybe they need to kind of go back on their goals.
I don't see any problem with carefully inspecting 4 million pounds of beef daily.
No problem at all, okay? But that's a completely different story, which we have talked about. This is specifically about the Muslim workers wanting to pray. Now, things really got bad after the workers, Somalis who had come west looking for work, had their employment at Cargill Meat Solutions terminated after 11 workers asked to pray at the same time in a company prayer room. Then they were asked to split into smaller groups to avoid hurting production quotas. Well, the workers weren't too happy about that. The workers did comply. However, 10 of them resigned that same day. As a result, 150 fellow workers ended up skipping work for 3 days in protest. So the employees who protested apparently went against a company policy that indicates that you can't take 3 consecutive days off in a row.
Without explanation.
Without explanation.
But they have explanation. They were protesting.
They had an explanation, exactly. But nonetheless, they get fired. And they said, look, we know we're firing you. It kind of sucks. But we also have this other rule where you can apply for the same job again after 6 months. So if you want this job again, you can go ahead and apply after 6 months. I don't know why they would want to do that. Now, one employee who was fired said the following: "It don't matter if I don't have a job. My religion is more important." Okay. So that's what's going on.
That's to each his own,
to each his
suppose.
Own. Yeah.
I guess the economy has picked up. It's not as hard to find a job as it once was, perhaps, and that's a good thing. And so then, first of all, I mean, there's multiple questions. There's a question of to what extent did either group do the right or the wrong thing? Because it seems like the company, look, I don't like firing 150 people at once. If they're protesting, you understand that they're trying to make a point. I would negotiate with them as opposed to simply canning them all and then saying, well, you can crawl back if you want. But they did make a prayer room available, which I checked we don't have here at the studio.
I have to be honest with you, based on what I know about the story, and there could be more details coming out, it seems like they did as much as they could to accommodate to the employees. And here's the thing, when you pray 5 times a day and you have to take time out of your work schedule to do that, well, it does kind of hurt production. And if you're a private company, of course, your bottom line is the most important thing. So I'm actually surprised at how much they accommodated to these employees to ensure that they were happy. But they weren't happy, and they ended up protesting, and they got fired anyway.
Well, but it seems like they were like, okay, we want you to split up into small groups. And they're like, okay. And then they go and do it, and then they resign in protest. So what was the problem? Like, they gave you a compromise. You accepted the compromise, and then you leave anyway. They let you continue to take time out of the middle of the day to go pray. Yes, you can't have a massive group doing it, but I always thought the prayer was supposed to be between you and your God anyway. I'm sure you'd love to have friends around, but you're also trying to work, so that's why it's a compromise.
I think that there are details to this story that haven't been reported. There are facts that maybe we don't know yet, because it does seem odd to me that it seemed like they got what they wanted, and then in the end, they resigned anyway. And here's the thing.
It's possible there's more.
No company wants to hire 150 employees at the same time. Unless they're, going bankrupt and they have no other choice. In this case, I feel like there's something else at play, and I don't know. It's
entirely possible. There might be some kind of harassment. I mean, the fact that they've hired this many Somalis would imply that they're not trying to discriminate against them, it would seem, especially since even with as much immigration as they've been talking about, it's still 1/12th, 1/13th of the population. If they wanted to not hire Somalis, they could. And it seems like they're doing some things to accommodate. I'm sure that there's stuff that we don't know about it, but we can still have a discussion about to what extent companies should be expected to modify, to accommodate, to modify the way that they work. Look, I don't generally like meat companies, especially because, and I know we're not going to talk about it again, the way that they won't slow things down so that we can, not get disease. I'm surprised that they were willing to accommodate them at all. And look, obviously you can't discriminate against people based on their religion and say, I'm not going to hire you based on your religion, or I'm going to fire you when I find out you're a certain religion. But to what extent should they have to modify a normal workday when they're already allowing them to stop and pray multiple times? I don't know. I think that there has to be a balance between the economy and our religious freedoms, and it feels like they've been trying to strike that compromise.
Yeah, they don't seem like a company that just wants to discriminate and doesn't want to accommodate to, their Muslim employees. But there is a fine line, and it's difficult to distinguish between when a religion goes too far or when a company goes too far. So we've talked about other cases before, like the case involving a Muslim woman who wanted to wear a headdress at Abercrombie and Fitch, and Abercrombie and Fitch was like, it kind of goes against our policy. Like, we have a certain look, we have a certain brand that we're trying to sell. I don't really like that brand.
I don't really get that.
I get it. You
can still wear the $80 T-shirt. What does it matter if you also have a headscarf on?
Right.
Why don't they just take this as an opportunity to sell a $1,000 headscarf? She can wear that all day long.
Well, all you need to do is look at Abercrombie's advertisements, and it's all preppy-looking white people that are wearing tiny clothes, right? Yeah. So I get that doesn't go along with their image. Now, the question is, should they be able to tell someone that they don't want them to wear a headdress or they don't want a certain look? I don't know.
I think that
I'm inclined to side with Abercrombie, and I'm inclined to side with the companies, because it's the same as like a right-winger wanting to be a pharmacist and then saying, well, my religion prevents me from issuing birth control or the morning after pill. Well, then don't be a pharmacist, because this is what your job requires you to do.
But is it the same? I mean, she's not saying I refuse to sell capris because I'm a Muslim. Like, it's something that she herself is wearing, as long as she's still willing to do the relationship between her and the customers, so far as I know, is exactly the same as any other worker and the customer. Yeah. So I would side in her favor in that case. In this case, I would say, look, if you need to periodically, in a way that can't be shifted, take time off at multiple points throughout the day, it doesn't really matter to me if it's smoking or if it's praying. At some point, that has to be something that you factor into when you choose a job.
Right.
And in this case, where it seems like they're doing whatever they can to make it as easy for them to have their cake and eat it too, or have their beef and eat it too, I think that seems like a fine situation. But maybe at some point we'll have statements from the workers explaining what else there was behind the scenes.
And also, I just want to add one more thing to the point I made about the Abercrombie case. It also reminds me a lot of Hooters, right? So if I'm a woman who wants to work at Hooters, but I don't want to wear that ridiculous Hooters costume, is Hooters discriminating against me because I don't want to go along with their business model?
That's
right.
Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. It's not cut and dry. It's a very complicated situation. So anyway, I'm open to hearing different arguments on it.